good enough to be a better than 5-win team. They're good enough to be a playoff team. It's just a lot of things that have to fall into place. And right now we don't know. That's part of the fun. We have no idea what's going to happen with any team. Just like they say you can play your way into prime time, you can play your way into high-level contention. But when you look at the competition, you look at the other teams, you look at the division, you look at the quarterback situation with the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Steelers, it's all adding up to the Browns being last place. And they're going to need a lot of luck and a lot of bad breaks for those other teams, which are good breaks for them if they're not going to be the fourth-place team in the AFC North.
That was Mike Florio yesterday on with Baskin and Phelps talking about the Cleveland Browns and the outlook for the upcoming season. I actually think there's a couple interesting sort of angles to attack this team today, Daryl, as we are on training camp eve, if you will. The excitement is palpable, or maybe it's not, because I don't like, it's weird. Like I sort of talked yesterday, and I know, Daryl, like you roll your eyes because you've been doing this for so long that like getting ready for another training camp to you is just like old hat. You're like, yeah, just roll out of bed and I'll be there. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm still in that phase for me. Like
you get the butterflies first day of school.
These are the times where like I truly feel appreciative for like what I do. You know what I mean? Like it's like, you take a moment to sort of just be like, I get to wake up and like go cover a football team for a living. And that's like a cool thing to me. And like, it's kind of like those realizations of like everything you've worked for to get to that point are here and the new season starting. So it's exciting to me. I'm sure I'll get to a point where for me, it's just like, okay, I'm here, whatever.
It's just another day at the office.
But at this phase of my life, it still matters to me. And
listen, it still matters to me too.
Just in a different way.
Yeah, just in a different way.
I get it. I know.
The novelty of it has worn off.
Yes, we see. We're on the same page.
Is there a moment though, Daryl, when you walk out there to the practice fields and that fresh cut grass smell, or the mowers that are always running?
Well, in the background, the press conferences that we hear.
You're like, oh, I'm back home. It's time. It's another one. Another one has started.
So I do have a training camp regimen that I like to do before practice. I like to walk the entire perimeter of the practice fields before practice begins. Get the
Daryl gets out there before the rest of the team.
You gotta know where
don't let anybody tell you. Don't let anybody tell you Daryl doesn't put in the extra work. He's out of practice before everybody else. Walking, getting his steps in, getting himself ready. He's the most hardworking guy in this town.
Getting in the right mental mindset for practice. What am I going to be looking for today? Who am I going to watch?
I like that.
Who's here?
I like that regimen.
Yes, and also too, so does my watch. I get my I get to close my circles on my watch and get told what a great job I did today, because I'm usually getting the you're terrible, you're lazy, you need to get up off your butt and do something. I usually get those messages.
I'm sure I would get those same messages if I had that watch too, because with a toddler at home, I don't think I get the steps I'm supposed to. Anyway,
no, I think you get plenty of steps chasing that little guy around.
That's true, but it's the exercise is not the exercise regimen is not what I want it to be. Anyway,
well, maybe the Browns will let you use the garage, as I like to call it.
Maybe I need to show up extra early and see if they'll let me in, and I can get a workout in. But no, like despite my level of excitement, and I think others that we sort of work around being like, okay, I know training camp's here, like it's that time of year. I do get the sense that there's maybe less excitement from the fans about training camp this year. And maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm misreading the situation. And I kind of wonder if we all know the thing that makes this training camp the most interesting, the thing that everyone's mostly intrigued by,
which, by the way, is what usually makes Browns training camp interesting to begin with,
is the quarterback competition.
There we go. Another quarterback competition.
But aside from the fact that like Shedeur Sanders is as polarizing as he is, and Joe Flacco's back, and people love Joe Flacco, I feel like there's not a lot of excitement around this quarterback competition in general. Like I think
there's a lot of excitement to see Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel.
And I think people are kind of just like, man, whoever starts a quarterback, I just feel like this season's just going to be 3 wins anyway. You don't really have like when they drafted Baker, it was like, okay, you got something to be excited about. You have this great first round pick, first overall pick, like guy that everyone's, thinking is the future. With these guys, it's kind of like tempered expectations with the rookies, because it's like, well, one was taken in the 3rd round, one was taken in the 5th round. And with the veterans, it's
one guy's 40 and the other guy's a reclamation project.
Right. And the guy that's 40, like the fans might love him, but they also know like what happened in 2023 was lightning in the bottle. It was like the perfect sample size of Joe Flacco. 5 games, no real consequences other than like, hey, he plays great. Then you get to the playoffs. Like, okay. So it kind of just feels like fans have already reserved themselves to, well, I know what the outcome's going to be no matter who's starting a quarterback. So I'm not really as excited about this quarterback competition as I usually am. And again, maybe I'm misreading it, but I find that kind of interesting because that is the selling point, I think, right now for this team going into training camp is, hey, this exciting quarterback competition and the possibilities that maybe somebody surprises some people. I think the other thing that would have been exciting is, hey, you got all these rookies getting back to running the football. But I think that's definitely gone out the window now with the Quinshon Judkins legal stuff, because now I think that kind of puts a damper on how effective that group can maybe be, especially early in the season.
Yeah, look, I think that if they can get competent quarterback play, this team should be fun to watch. But I have no idea what to expect from the quarterback position. And I'm not copping out. That's just reality. I don't know what Joe Flacco has left in the tank. It looks good in practice. Guess what? It's supposed to look good in practice. Okay. Dylan Gabriel, I can hardly see when he's on the field. Shedeur Sanders, you can see the raw talent there, but you can also see there's some habits they've got to work out of his game.
Well, and we haven't seen him with the ones yet either. That's the big thing.
And Kenny Pickett, it is what it is. Okay. They like him in whatever. So when you look at the rookie class, this is a year where these rookies should be able to tangibly contribute on the field in a significant positive fashion. Okay. Even with the Quinshon Judkins legal situation.
Right,
I'm even going to include that, whether he's available, not available, whatever. I still feel like, because obviously Mason Graham, I think is going to do some really good things up front next to Myles Garrett. I am intrigued by Schlesinger. I've heard great things about him, but I kind of need to see it with my own eyes at this particular level, right? I'd love to pick a Sampson. I think there's some potential there. We know what Jerome Ford is going to have to take on a little more without Judkins being available. You look at this rookie class, there should be some significant contributions coming from them, and so there are things, believe it or not, all sarcasm aside, and I know I fire my strays at the Browns pretty much on a regular basis. They deserve it. But there are things to get excited about this upcoming season, even though the schedule on paper is one of the toughest in the NFL. It's pretty brutal leading up to the trip to London. But all that being said, you got to play the games. They need to stay healthy. Okay, knock on wood. Got to get through training camp healthy, and hopefully no season-ending injuries, limit the soft tissue injuries and all that. Wide receiver, that's a question. You've got Jerry Jeudy and then a bunch of question marks after that, right? We've been sold Cedric Tillman, but we need to see it from Cedric Tillman.
I do think we were starting to see it last year before the concussion, and then that unfortunately just derailed this whole season. Like that, I think we'd have a different outlook on Cedric Tillman if he had finished last year. I think, for sure.
David Njoku, you know what he brings to the table. The only question there is, are they going to extend him? Right?
Yeah.
And what does that extension look like? Bannon, who they drafted from Bowling Green, I love that kid. I think he is going to be a significant contributor this year. Offensive line, it's health and age. Can they hold up? Unfortunately, in recent years, they've not held up. The depth has been challenged. Last year, it did not go as well as we had become accustomed to because we got spoiled for a few years. The strength of the team typically was the offensive line. So the secondary, love Grant Delpit, love Denzel Ward, love Greg Newsome. They've got players on this. This is not a team devoid of talent. I have seen and read some things this offseason from, various publications that want to discount the Browns' talent. They have talent. Their number one question is the same it's been for the last 30 years. What do they have at quarterback? Can they get enough from that position to allow them to be competitive? If Joe Flacco can win the starting job and recapture what he had in 2023 and do that for 17 games, this is going to be a very fun football season.
For sure.
Okay? But if, let's say, Joe Flacco wins the job and it doesn't go as great and they make a quarterback change at the bye week, well, it's probably not going to be as fun of a football season. So for me, it's not that the team's devoid of talent. It's not that there aren't intriguing players to watch and whatnot. It comes down to what it always does for them, and that is the quarterback room. And they've got to sort through this. Kevin Stefanski, the coaching staff, the front office, they got 4 guys to choose from. Okay? I'm not saying they got to go Romeo Cornell and start flipping coins to figure out what they got. Or, I don't know, maybe get the old, the spinning wheel. You get up in the flip the spinning wheel every day. Okay, today is going to be this guy's day. And then tomorrow we'll do it again. I don't know what they have in that room. I think I know. I think I have an idea of what's there. But I don't know how it's going to manifest itself on the field.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of questions. I almost wonder if the way we also talk about the quarterbacks in general and like what the Browns kind of need from that room is also maybe making people feel not as excited about this training camp. We're getting you ready for Browns training camp tomorrow, as usually this time of year brings some excitement, especially in this town. We know how much people love the Browns here, but I just feel like there's not the same buzz about training camp as there usually is, Daryl. And I think as we talk about the framing of the competition, I wonder if that's part of this too. Is like,
it's my fault.
No. I'm not saying it's your fault at all, because I've said the exact same thing. Like, competent quarterback play, this team could maybe do something.
Dying to blame me for this too.
Well, you've got a lot of things that I'm
got a lot of
upset
hate in your
with,
heart, Daryl. That's what the people on Twitter are saying.
If there's one thing I'm good at, it's poking the bear that is Owen.
I just wonder too if when we talk about the quarterback competition. And the idea of like, hey, if they just get competent quarterback play, that's enough. And like, that's what you're looking for out of this competition. I almost wonder if that's part of why people aren't excited about it either, because it'd be different.
What's
like
wrong
I said,
with that? Because if that happens, they're going to win games this fall.
Well,
I think the offensive line, if they stay healthy, is going to be good enough to help the run game. And if you get competent quarterback play, the pass game's going to be fine. I think the defense is going to be really good. I don't know if they're going to return to 2023 form where they ended up as the number 1 defense in the NFL, but they're better in my view with the addition of Mason Graham. I'm very interested to see what the bookend to Myles Garrett ultimately looks like. They really like Isaiah McGuire. You got Alex Wright in there as well. We saw a couple other guys pop during the offseason program and minicamp. Like, again, this is not a team that is in a rebuild mode. This is not 4-44 redone. This isn't an expansion roster. There is tangible quality talent on this roster, and they're going to sink or swim based on what they get from their quarterback.
I think it is
quarterbacks.
The one thing I'll say, I think that it is a team that's in a rebuild. I think it's a rebuild sort of on the fly situation.
You mean transition?
That's how they would frame it. I would say it's kind of like, I don't want to.
If it was a rebuild, Myles Garrett would have been gone. David Njoku would be gone.
I think there's different ways to rebuild. Like, I think there's that version of rebuild where it's like, you just tear it down to the studs and start all over, which I think in the NFL teams have shown you, like, you don't have to do it that way every time.
Right.
And the Browns obviously did that not so long ago. So it's like, you're really going to go back to that again. But I think like there's different ways you can rebuild. I think this team is rebuilding, but they're doing it in a way where they're like, we're staying competitive. We're still competing while we're sort of rebuilding. Because listen, if you're investing in trading down the way you did in the draft, getting an extra draft pick for next year, and trying to maybe either find your franchise quarterback with it, or maybe if you think you get your franchise quarterback out of one of these rookies or something like that, or Kenny Pickett really hits, and then he's your guy for the future, then you have 2 players you can draft next year to help bolster the roster. I think that tells me you're like a rebuilding team without, them admitting they're a rebuilding team. But yes, they're trying to stay competitive. And I'm not saying, Daryl, it's bad, because I 100% agree with the stance of like competent quarterback play. This team can surprise some people. 100% they can. All the people writing their think pieces about they have the worst roster in football and it's going to be another 3-win season again. I don't think those people really know what they're looking at. I think they're just writing off a team that was bad last year because they were bad, and they're not really understanding, like they're not seeing the forest for the trees. I think this Browns team is better than people are giving it credit for, and that should be a reason, by the way, why people are excited about training camp. But I just think we know the quarterback is the driver of the bus. Across the league, that's the case. Like every training camp opens up and the talk is always generally revolving around the quarterback's position, except for maybe a few instances here or there. And so, yeah, man, like it's a different setup because you don't have that guy right now that you're like, hey, franchise quarterback. I don't know how much people are pinning the hopes and dreams of the franchise on Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. Some are taking it to the extreme. Some are kind of tempering expectations. I think those tempered expectations and the idea that like all we're looking for out of this is competent quarterback play. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
I'm just trying to be fair with the expectation because again, I'm looking at the situation through a realistic lens. Again, Joe Flacco's 40 years old. All right. I don't know how much he has left in the tank. Kenny Pickett's a reclamation project. And then you have a 3rd and a 5th round pick. And if you're expecting the 3rd or 5th round pick to step in and start week 1 and assume the mantle of being that franchise quarterback, 1, you're being disingenuous about the situation. And 2, you're being completely unfair to both of those players. Those are unreasonable expectations. If Shedeur was their pick at number 5 instead of Mason Graham, we are sitting here having a completely different conversation about expectation, okay? I'm trying to be fair to Dillon Gabriel and to Shedeur Sanders by not putting too much on their shoulders unfairly too early, all right? Now, once you step on the field, once you get the call and they say, hey, you're up, kid, then yes, the expectation to perform gets added on. But right now, I don't have expectations for either one of those kids because I don't think it's appropriate. But
I think that's totally fair, by the way. Like, I'm not saying anything that you're saying, anything that I'm saying.
And by the way, that's not a shot at either one of those kids either. I'm not sitting here saying that, they don't belong in the NFL. No, I'm trying to be very realistic and fair about this situation.
Yeah. Well, and frankly, the Browns are they're framing it. They're framing it the way that we're talking about it, where they're like, hey guys, pump the brakes on the 2 rookies. We got these 2 veterans here. The way they've set the competition up, at least to this point, we'll see what it looks like when training camp opens tomorrow. But I'm assuming it's going to be somewhat similar. Like the way they're framing it, it's very like tempered expectations, keep things low. We don't need to like hype these guys up. And so I think that's feeding into it as well. Like you said, if they had taken Shedeur Sanders at number 2 overall, even if they had taken Shedeur Sanders at 33 overall, the first pick of the 2nd round,
right?
I think it'd be a very different vibe around this training camp, this team, this season, this competition. But it's the fact that you got those 2 rookies in the 3rd and the 5th round, and you have 2 veterans that like people are excited about Joe Flacco being back, but I think they also know who Joe Flacco is. They've seen him other places. And it's Kenny Pickett, who a lot of people can't buy into for various reasons. He doesn't look like he was the best NFL quarterback. When he did play in the NFL, as a starter, he was with the Steelers, and people don't like the Steelers. And so I think it's nothing that we're doing wrong in the way that we're talking about.
When he started for the Steelers, it was some of the
worst
ugliest,
yes, it was bad.
Worst offensive football
it was bad.
you'd ever see. And you have to sit there and say, okay, How much was that Matt O'Canada? How much was it that just Kenny Pickett stinks, right? But here's the other thing. He found ways. He had 6 or 7 fourth quarter comebacks.
Yeah.
Like he found ways. It wasn't pretty. And it's those intangibles, just like with Dillon Gabriel, right? The Browns really love his intelligence, his processing, the way he sees the game. They love that about him. Me, I don't like the physical stature. I don't think that's going to work.
I also think it's unfair to compare him to Sam Darnold because, like, Sam Darnold had some of the physical traits you look for in quarterbacks, and he just doesn't have them.
But then when you look at Pickett, the Browns look at him and they see the intangibles. Like, yeah, okay, the first 3 quarters pretty terrible, but when the game's on the line, this guy finds a way to get it done. Yeah. And maybe that's what we really need to focus on right now because, okay, we're not probably going to light up the scoreboards this year. We're going to have to be very deliberate in our offensive approach. And if we do turn to Kenny Pickett, hey, this is a guy that knows how to get it done when the game's on the line. And let's be honest about it. Where did the Browns flop most spectacularly? It usually is when the game is on the line. They don't get it done, right? And so they're looking at some of these intangibles in addition to the physical traits, right? So I just want to be very realistic. It's not that I'm hating on any of these guys. It's not that I'm hating on the Browns. It's just, let's just be very realistic about what they have, how they're going to be able to deploy it, right? And I really like Kevin Stefanski's approach.
Yeah.
We're going to get back to using the tight ends, going to get back to the running game, winning the game in the trenches, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands in rather quick fashion so they're not back there getting to 6, 7, 8, 9 Mississippi, and they put themselves in a situation where they're going to make a negative play.
My overall point here, Daryl, is this. Like, it's not that I think you're saying anything wrong. It's not that I think I'm saying anything wrong. And the stuff that we're saying, I think, does paint this picture of there's probably should be more reason for optimism around this team than some are giving it credit. But I think maybe the problem is you have this competition of quarterbacks that it's all like it's a wait and see approach with all of it. And so I think that's maybe the thing that, like, all the fans are entering training camp, or a lot of the fans are entering training camp with maybe less excitement and more just like, I want to see this thing before I really buy into it. And so that's maybe why I'm getting the sense that there's just not as much buzz about it as there are in previous years. Maybe I'm wrong.